Hello, this is Russell from
Tombz of Evil.
and you're listening to Into the Night, the Moon Knight podcast.
Yes, welcome back, loony listeners. You are listening to Into the Night, the Moon Knight podcast. This is episode 237, and you are with your High Priest of Khonshu, Ray. Hello, and joining me for this episode at the top of the week, it's an idle chat, is none other than valued loony and cosmic force in his own right, the power of Chad. Chad, welcome.
Hey, how's it going?
Yeah, good. Always good to have you back, Chad. Always great to, just shoot the breeze. We've got something quite different that we started about a month ago. Chad is joining us to go through the second part of Understanding DID. It's a bit of a sub-segment that we have for Idle Chat, and graciously assisted by fellow loony Lena, who's part of a DID system. So this will be interesting, Chad. I mean, what were your thoughts when I came up to you and I said, Chad, do you want to do this? Are you fraught with curiosity, or is it something that's a little daunting, or what do you make of this?
I'd definitely say curiosity, if anything, because it's, as far as it comes, it's better to be more acquainted with these type of things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
just seems senseless to just cast it aside. It's generally part of something in Mark. Why not?
Yeah, exactly. And it could actually lend itself to, potentially make you appreciate Moon Knight or Mark Spector, or his travails a lot more by understanding this. And also as well, look, I should point out that as with part one, what Lena's article is also trying to do is dispel a couple of myths and misunderstandings of DID. So it's kind of to get you, the loonies, who obviously love Moon Knight, just a bit more knowledge on what DID is and how that is potentially represented correctly or incorrectly in the comic books. So we'll go through this article with Lena, and she does cite some Moon Knight comics in it, so it'll be interesting to go through some modern runs as well. Before we kick off any of that and some news, of course, I've got to thank our sponsors. So, of course, the Patroonies, a huge thank you, one and all, listed as co-producers and executive producers on each of the episode show notes. Also on the Patreon temple on itkmoonnight.com. You can see the names listed there. And the one on the website will be all the Patroonies that do pledge. And the ones that are credited on the show notes, that's based on the particular tiers. So, just a little clarification there. A big thank you to Daniel, Drew, Justin, Derek, Kyle, Wayne, Jordan, Josh, James, Anthony, and Michael. Thank you so much, one and all. It's a big treat. And it's lovely to be able to, to be a little bit more unfettered when it comes to, to doing just get to do the fun stuff and not worry about the other side, the administration side of things, so to speak. Also as well, we must shout out our Patrooni sponsors. First of all, Drew Tombz. He's got two monikers that he goes under: Tombz on SoundCloud and LURKMUSICK on Bandcamp. So all to do with different sorts of genres of music. Go check out Drew's dance music that he produces on SoundCloud under Tombz, and he also does horror and sci-fi inspired soundscapes under LURKMUSICK with a CK on Bandcamp. As always as well, long stalwart loony and Patrooni Daniel Doing and his creation Fringe Knight, an original indie comic based on Erie, Pennsylvania's very own mysterious superhero. Go check it out. He's doing great stuff. Chad, there was an Erie Comic Con not that long ago, and I was chatting with Daniel. He obviously set up a stall for Fringe Night. He had, this is the amount of dedication Daniel does. He got a cosplayer to cosplay as one of his characters, and she kind of was in character and was at the stall as well. There was a full suit of Fringe Night in the background. Obviously, Daniel didn't wear it during the weekend, but it was there for everyone to see. And he said his stall is sold out that weekend, which is pretty damn good. Yeah, exactly. For those that don't have video, Chad just raised the eyebrows there and it whistled. So well done, Daniel. I just want to give you a shout out there. Finally, Dreamland Comics from Illinois, the superhero superstore. So that's thank you one and all. So Chad, before we get into understanding DID, we do have a bit of white noise, so I just wanted to get your thoughts on some of them. Again, smattered throughout, nothing too big, but, worth discussing anyway. The first thing kicking us... Sorry, Chad, were you about to say something?
I didn't say anything yet.
Okay, I thought you were about to. Kicking off, there was that photo, Chad. So some of the loonies may know in the Facebook group and on social media, Willem Dafoe, Ethan Hawke and Oscar Isaac were photographed together, all flipping the bird at the camera. So I'm assuming they're all in Hungary. First we got Mark Ruffalo, now we got Willem Dafoe. What the hell is happening over there in Hungary, Chad? Tell me.
I guess I will tell you everything I know, right? I think that there's sort of like an ongoing joke. Apparently, Willem Dafoe likes to flip the bird everywhere he goes. It's like Martin Freeman, who also just throws that thing up all the time.
Does he? Oh, okay. Yeah. Oh, I didn't know that. I can see it more from Willem Dafoe than from Martin Freeman. It reminds me of also John Bernthal. Always does the... you've seen photos of him. He always points at something. Like, so if there's a fan that he's doing a selfie with, he'll just like point at the fan, or he'll point at a Funko Pop or toy figure of the Punisher or something. He always does that. They seem to have their own signature things, but Willem Dafoe, why not? Flip the bird. He's old enough. Who cares?
I've been watching that guy since Crybaby.
Oh.
The little Johnny Depp
musical. Yes, right. Did that have Nick Cave in there as well?
I wouldn't doubt it. There's tons of weird things. Yeah. Actually, come to think of it, I think Ethan Hawke was in that too.
Oh, there's a bit of a connection there between Ethan Hawke and Willem Dafoe. But yeah, okay. But apart from flipping the bird, what is this thing about them all congregating in Hungary, Chad? Is Marvel just shooting there because of cheap rates? Or, I mean, taking nothing away from it's a beautiful, and Budapest, beautiful country, but it's just a bit of a coincidence that we get Mark Ruffalo, and now we've got Willem Dafoe, all doing different movies, but we get the common thread here of Ethan Hawke and Oscar Isaac. What's going on?
That is perplexing. I would honestly have to just say that it's just, cheap rates for filming rights. I mean, lots of different, diverse biomes to go to. Why not?
Look, I'm going to go there, Chad. I'm going to be the one to shake the tree. Is this something to do with Spider-Man No Way Home? Are we going to see Moon Knight? Are we going to see Moon Knight's nemesis? Are we going to see the Hulk in Spider-Man? And are we going to see, it's kind of half revealed that we're going to see the Green Goblin there. I mean, that's kind of a given. Are they all going to be there? What is happening?
I mean, they showed off the pumpkin bombs rolling. They definitely have Doc Ock showing back up.
Mm-hmm.
And, Alfred Molina looking very sharp.
Yes.
I would love to see Willem Dafoe back, though.
I would as well.
In one state or another. Just, he's a great actor.
I would, and again, this is just personal taste, okay? So please take it with a grain of salt, loonies. I would prefer it if he doesn't come back in that costume and potentially in another costume. There was that one, I don't know if you saw it, it's an animatronic one, or I don't know what you call it.
That one was terrifying.
That was cool, wasn't it? Imagine Willem Dafoe in that. I mean, he's already got such a articulate face, so it's a shame to hide it, but that costume in Spider-Man hit his face anyway, so so that's my only kind of hope. Or the other thing, are they all in the Multiverse of Madness? But I think perhaps they may have wrapped up shooting. I saw something with Elizabeth Olsen, and it's either she's wrapped up her bits for the movie, or they've just wrapped up the whole film as it is. So I don't know.
They've wrapped up the entire film.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. All the secrets are contained now.
Oh, don't you wonder sometimes that, like, those actors...
Sometimes.
But don't you wonder, like, they've got that knowledge in their head and they've just obviously got to bite their tongue, but the things they know, how cool is that? It's like, Benedict Cumberbatch, the things that he knows. But anyway, okay. Well, that was a little bit of on-screen news there, Loonies. Oscar Isaac again, groundbreaking. We're expecting groundbreaking stuff from him, as he said. Apart from that, Chad, let me just have a look. Oh yeah, on the comic front, there were some variant covers that were released. So we know issue 3 coming out this coming Wednesday. From what I know, there's the other one with Miles Morales. It's a variant cover, which looks pretty cool. Miles Morales Celebration or something. You know how they have these variant covers, they pay homage to characters. Miles Morales is there and Moon Knight's in the background. Looks pretty cool. But we got some for issue 4. And want to shout out Looney John Marsden from the Facebook group. He posted it up. So, Chad, this first one looks like a ripper. Moon Knight issue 4, Stormbreaker's Venomized variant by Joshua Cassara. What do you make of this?
I think it is very indicting about what could be going on here. So it basically shows off like a papyrus font, just like beautiful pictogram here, hieroglyphics on this wall, and there's a Knight of the Moon wearing all black with a wagging tongue like it's Venom. And, we all know that Moon Knight has been around for a while. He's a legacy character. And as of, 4 years ago, that Venom turned into like this age-old threat, going on with like Grendel and all of that
4
history.
Years? Was that? Jeez, yeah. It seems like a while ago. Yeah.
Yeah, that was like starting up right when I started on the podcast with you guys.
Oh, right. Wow. Yeah, that's true. That's for about 4 years. Yeah, it's a beautiful variant cover. I love this old school, hieroglyphics and Egyptian artwork. I think that's great. It actually reminds me of another one. I haven't got it in the prom sheet. There's one which is all kind of more profile, and it's got Moon Knight kneeling, and then there are some other Egyptian, I think there's Khonshu and some other Egyptian servants around him in this kind of format. I can't remember for what issue that is, but Looney's, it's got to be between 4 to 6, right? Issues 4 to 6. I don't know. Sorry. I just came across it on Discord or Twitter, and I thought that's a really cool cover. But sorry about that. I don't have that information. But this one really does look good as well. The large crescent darts as well, Chad. Well, they're not darts even. They're more like just blades or cutting implements.
Yeah, they're like it's like some kind of throwing dagger, because it's got like obviously like 2 edges, but each one of those edges is like double edged as well, so it's very edgy.
Oh man, if I remember, I've got to put in that drum roll. No, very good, but one to consider. It doesn't have a ratio to it, so I'm hoping it's like an easily obtainable one. I'd be pretty keen to get this one just because the beauty looks really good.
Oh yeah.
There's a second one also. It's a 1 to 25. So you wouldn't expect it to be 2. 1 to 25s aren't that bad in price. I think they could go up to 25 to $30 maybe US, I think, for 1 to 25s, and then they go crazy after that. But this one is Gabriel Dell'Otto. Yeah, this is a nice one, Chad. It's I'm about to say very reminiscent of the Declan Shalvey, but actually it's taking directly from the Cappuccio Jed McKay. That is the costume with the shoulder crescents. He's all in black. It just looks pretty cool. Just a black and white one, and he's throwing some crescent darts towards you. So a couple of those variants released for issue 4. Now, I just want to backtrack as well. This was dropped in our Discord. So apart from the Miles Morales issue variant for issue 3, there's an exclusive Alex Maleev Virgin and logo variant. Yeah. What do you make of this one, Chad?
It's very Alex Maleev.
It is.
How luminous the cloak is, and how offset it is. Because usually Alex Maleev characterizes Moon Knight as being like this ghost. It's very ominous, and in this, it's like the only thing with that aspect to it is the cloak.
Yeah,
because his body's very solid. It's completely different material. It's just very off.
It's pretty cool. As you're saying, it was very spectral and all that. To me, it looks like, and I'm just looking at it, it's probably an inferior image, but it looks like it's more of the Bendis Maleev run, like that kind of costume. It doesn't look like the Delotto one that we just spoke of, so it doesn't look like the current costume that Moon Knight has, but I could be wrong. But yeah, it looks good. He's hunched over, kind of gargoyle-esque. They love doing that for these street level. Who hasn't leered over a gargoyle, atop a roof? Spider-Man, Daredevil, Moon Knight, I'm sure.
I don't think I've seen Dreamwalker do it.
Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, it's a lot of fun. Apparently it costs a bit. I've got here $40, not $50. That could be for both of them. So that's okay. Do you ever get Virgin covers, Chad?
No, I don't have that kind of money.
I don't as well. But this one seems not that bad. It's what, 25 US. So if you halve it between the two, but yeah, that is a bit exy for
If I was in the business of binding entire runs together, I'd definitely get Virgin covers.
Oh, okay.
Because that would just go perfect with each other.
Oh yeah, that would look really spectacular. And also, finally, and apologies, Lenny, just kind of going through this rather quickly because I really would like to dive into Lena's article. We got Rebecca. I want to shout out Rebecca. She dropped this off in Discord. The December solicits were revealed for Moon Knight. Here, Chad, have you got the blurb handy?
Yeah. December solicit, covered by Carlos Pacheco from Spider-Woman.
No, that's Carla Pacheco. Yeah,
Carla Pacheco.
Yeah, they always get them mixed up. Carla has a field day with that because she always gets mistaken for Carlos Pacheco, who's the artist. But yeah, that's what.
I swear I've heard that
name.
Yeah,
it's very funny. Yeah.
Well, now I look silly. What's the name? Let's see. Devil's Reign, villain variant, covered by Raza. Beaten, bloody, his world burning down around him. This was how the Moon Knight was born. And now it's happening all over again. Outmaneuvered, outgunned, outplanned, Moon Knight's mysterious enemy has strode out of the shadows to strike. And when his villain strikes, they strike true. At the mercy of a maniac, will Moon Knight die again?
That's cool.
Yeah. And the covers, it's pretty telling. It's, Moon Knight, not in Crime Alley, but, his body on some newspaper in an alley somewhere.
Yeah. The other one, I'm not sure which one's by Raza and which one's by Carlos Pacheco, to be completely honest with you. The other one is a little telling as well. It's got Moon Knight overwhelmed by more vermin. So I guess we see more vermin there. And the exciting thing is in issue 6, I guess the reveal of who this person is that has been lurking across the street. Should be interesting. Who was it that I was talking with Noel and Justin, and we came up, I was in one of their previous episodes, and we thought, hang on, what if it's this person? I can't remember who. Maybe Nimrod Strange, I don't know. arsenal. That would be funny. But yeah, I guess it will be revealed then. And interesting, because that's issue 6, so that would potentially be the end of that first arc. So we don't get to see them until the very end, like the last issue. So that's interesting. Any thoughts, Chad, as to who that might be? Have you got your theory hat on?
I mean, I honestly think it's just going to be some random lycanthropic moon priest. Still got my money down on that.
Okay. Well, I mean, we'll have to wait and see. But very exciting stuff, and I like the idea that the way that it was framed in this solicit, it's happening all over again. You know what I mean? So it's a callback to him dying, I'm assuming, in the hands of being left to die from Bushmen. He's going down that track again. I doubt it would be referring to, maybe it's just in the sense of abstractly of just dying, because I was about to say with him in Spectre Corps, at the end of Mark Spector Moon Knight, it was a very different scenario, but he still died in that sense. I don't think his body's going to decay away, but I guess he's at death's door again. I guess that's it. So, yeah, interesting. Anyway, Loonies, check it out if you can in our social media groups or platforms. The pictures, whatever you call them, the covers should be readily available there. Right, Chad. So let's get to this. So this is exciting. So in case you haven't heard of part 1 that we did, Understanding Dissociative Identity Disorder, we've been working in collaboration with Doug / Lena. They're part of a system. They have DID themselves, and Lena in particular, she is very interested in this side of things when it comes to reading the comics. So she reached out to us and said, "Look, I'd love to write articles for the show, and to kind of dispel some myths and kind of bring Loonies up to speed a bit more with what DID is actually about." And I mean, previously with the Mensch run and such, it hasn't been represented, accurately. So this is going to be interesting. And so what Chad and I will do is we'll read through Lena's article, and I guess we'll just stop when we feel we have any questions, Chad, or we can expand on something that Lena has written. So why don't you kick us off, Chad, with the opening paragraph, and we'll see where we go.
Okay. Let's see. Hello, fellow loonies. This is Lena again, with my first issue-specific review of Moon Knight's representation of DID. For this one, I'll be going through issue number 9 of the Lemire and Smallwood run. Very good run. Incarnations, Part 4. This issue tells a story of how Mark merged his other identities into himself, so that he could be one whole person. This one really hit me hard because it reminded me of some very difficult times in my / our life. But I think it's important that I explain why this process of trying to merge alters doesn't always work as smoothly as it did in this issue. Because of this, something that a lot of people misunderstand about DID.
Yeah, so, I mean, off the back again of part 1, one of the things that I really learnt from Lena's article, and what I guess is alluded to here, is that previously, I guess therapists and such tried to merge these alters and these identities into one, whereas I guess that's not really the way to go. It's more like trying to manage and I guess live with these other identities. That seems to be more of a healthier option. Also, the misconception that the mind has splintered into these fragments of identities, which a lot of kind of comics and stuff, I guess, and pop culture represent DID in, where it isn't actually the case at all. It's more like it's not like it's splintered off into various regions. It's more like the mind is always there, but it's just kind of, I guess, working on a very complex level. So So I can understand why that in this issue, Incarnations Part 4, it would have really hit hard for Lena. Going on, Lena says the first page of the issue starts with a Space Knight Mark explaining how he was so excited to sign up for the space program. But then when a virus started turning people into werewolves, he had to evacuate as many people as possible to the experimental base on the moon. He talks about how hard it was to see people he cares about being turned into monsters. He concludes by saying very angrily, "And now you have the nerve to stand here and look me in the eyes and tell me that none of that ever happened, that none of it was real."
Yeah, and that was rough because, that's his reality. And just reading through that, it's just really intense.
Yeah, I mean, imagine that. Imagine anything that you had held as real, and anything that you kind of anchored yourself with and your life to. Imagine if that was just like flipped around and just no, none of that is actually is true. It's a bitter pill to take.
Yeah. Okay, next paragraph. Okay, I think I need to pause here and explain something. I know that we are all taught that anything that is all in our head is not real. But this kind of thinking is somewhat counterproductive when you are dealing with the ID system. You see, to us, the things that happen in our internal world, the world inside our mind, are very real. The internal world may not be real in the same way that as the external world. It may not be made of atoms or molecules. It may not follow all the same laws of physics as the external world, but it is a mental construct in our mind that is home to all of us who aren't out in our physical body at any given time. Things that happen in the internal world can and do influence our life in the external world, and vice versa. However, it is problematic when alters get so wrapped up in the reality of the internal world that they can't even tell the difference between internal reality and external reality. When that happens, though, it's not really productive to tell them that their internal reality is not real, because that just makes them feel like they're trying to invalidate their experience. Rather, it's important that they understand that the internal and external worlds are both real, but they are both different. There are some differences between them. It's important to them to recognize and accept those differences. Yeah.
I think this is a major thing as well, and it's something that just takes a little time for, I guess, people like ourselves, Chad, to get our head around. I mean, of course, like the stuff like it's in your head. I mean, there's that saying, it's in your head. Like, it's not based on the laws of physics. It's not real. But in this instance, and I like the way that Lane has actually phrased it, is the fact that these other alters and these identities are like, they're not physically manifest. They do exist, but they exist in a different kind of plane. So to say to them that it's not real is, again, it's pretty much as mentioned in that little description of Space Knight Mark. It's kind of taking the floor under their feet and saying, look, it's not real. What do you mean? Like, this is where I inhabit. This is where I exist in this reality. And so I think, I mean, as Lena says as well, it's understanding that, and I guess it's a coexisting of those two realities that you have to kind of accept. And not only the people with DID, but people who are associated with someone or know people with DID, to kind of understand that, and to respect that. But yeah, that's, an interesting, like, I've never thought of that kind of, a premise for people with DID. But yeah.
I kind of get how that goes on the external side of things, because I deal with a lot of residents, being a CNA and med tech, that have dementia, and they have these fragments of past memories they're reliving. And, it's like, when that hits, you can't just tell them something's not real, because they're still living it through. You can't just do that.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I remember, because my, to share as well, like my father, before he passed as well, it seemed pretty clear that he was already a few stages in to dementia, and all that. And it got very frustrating for me, like, because I think one, as a son, as someone, and seeing your father like that, I don't know, this is just me, but it was like, I got frustrated and annoyed when he would say stuff, and it would be like, no, it's like this, I should have understood more. And I learnt later on that people are saying, look, people with dementia, just don't like ruffle them, like just go with it, because all you could do when you kind of shake them by going against what they're saying is that you just kind of really distressing, I can imagine, for them, for the same reasons that we're saying this reality, the internal world, if someone's told with DID that that's not real, I mean, that's really shaking the foundations of what they truly believe in. So exactly as you're saying, Chad, I think that's that's something that we've got to be mindful of, I guess, if we have the if we're lucky enough to have the mindset and proclivity to be able to function in air quotes like normally, but just how to coexist with others that may view things differently. So yeah. Moving on, Lana says, on the following 2-page spread, Mark Spector answers Space Knight Mark's question by saying, I'm sorry, but none of you are real. I wasn't sure I was either, not for a while, but now I know I am. Ouch. That really hit home for me because it reminded me of what I went through for years when we were misdiagnosed by therapists who didn't understand DID. I wanted to address this answer separately from the question because Space Knight Mark's question was more about his feeling that Mark was invalidating his internal world, and Mark's answer was more about invalidating the alters themselves, which is a separate issue and perhaps even more important to understand. So that's an example, I guess, of exactly what we were kind of discussing, Chad. About someone just invalidating it.
And to that point, it's a bit insulting telling people what they can and can't exist in.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Okay. It's a common misunderstanding that there's one real or original identity in a DID system, which is usually thought of as one of those who bears the appearances and legal name of the physical body, and all the others are less real because they split off from the original. In fact, years ago, that used to be the commonly accepted clinical understanding of DID. But in more recent years, among clinicians who studied dissociation and trauma, it has come to be understood that that's not really how DID works.
Yeah, so I guess this is a question then I have for Lena, because it's clear what I guess Lena is spelling out here in the article about there's a misunderstanding that there's one real original, and I can see that. But say, for instance, we take Mark Spector Moon Knight, like he was born and he grew up as Mark Spector. Right, so like that to me, isn't that the original? Not to say that the others that come up later are any less so, but by some definition, that is the first one, right? Like before the trauma happens, and the other identities kind of surface, there's always got to be I guess what I'm saying, there's always got to be a set out point. You know what I mean? There's also got to be a start. So I guess my question to Lena would be then, I can understand what she's saying, but then, by that definition though, there will be original. I mean, I don't want to say that I don't want to say that and lessen any of the other identities, but but by that definition, they were there first. I don't know. What do you think, Chad?
I mean, I think it kind of goes by case basis with the alters and the system itself. I haven't been in the system, so I can't say.
Yeah, no, exactly. I mean, let's look at the way that it's represented in Moon Knight. It certainly seems to me that Mark Spector's the not the dominant identity, but we went through his origin, right? And even if you look at the Lemire run, when he meets as a child Stephen, his imaginary friend.
Yeah.
He and his father, the father referred to him as Mark, so he was there first before some trauma happened, and we saw it later on with the Max Bemis run with Uncle Ernst. Massive trauma caused it, but
Jesus.
Yeah, but again, that was Mark, right? Mark was there first.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, maybe just more clarification later, but I kind of I know where you're going, but I guess my logical mind is just fighting me. So anyway, moving on, the alters in a DID system are identities who have diverged from each other to help compartmentalize the difficult thoughts and feelings that are caused by traumatic events. But that doesn't make any of them less real. Yeah, certainly. It just means that the different parts of the self of a person with DID are organized differently, divided into separate identities rather than integrated into one whole identity. One useful metaphor I've found to help explain this concept is that a DID system is sort of like a pizza. If you take a whole pizza and slice it into 6 or 8, or however many slices, would you point to one of those slices and say, this slice is the original pizza, the real pizza, and all of the other slices are fake pizza? Of course not. They are all still real and still parts of the original pizza. They are just divided instead of one whole pizza. This is a very cool analogy, I think. This also means that all of us, including the one who bears the name and appearance of the physical body, i.e. Mark Spector, or in the case of our system, Doug Vincent, are alters. We are not parts of Doug. We are parts with Doug. Parts of what would have been one identity if we had not been traumatized in childhood. I guess that explains it then. It kind of makes it clearer to me. I don't know. What are your thoughts, Chad, about that?
I know it's sort of like pop culture at this point, but I mean, ship of Theseus, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that again, I like the analogy of the pizza, and that's true. And so what I was saying before about Mark Spector, he's been there first. I guess I've just got to get out of that mindset that he was there first, right? I mean, all the others were there. Like, all the other slices of pizza were there, right? So, so I guess you can't say that slice of Mark Spector, whether or not it came first or not, is there. I mean, because I guess another way of trying to understand it is that we all have, say for instance, and again, I get apologies if this is going over or stepping over. Say for instance, Chad, you and I, we all have within us, within our mind, the ability obviously to have 10s, 20, 30, 50 different identities within ourselves, but our minds have integrated into one whole, so they're all there. They're just, they're all there, but they're just all kind of stitched together. I guess with DID, say for Mark Spector, so the Stephen Grants, the Jake Lockleys, the Moon Knights, they're all just as Mark Spector. And again, that's kind of again leading towards Mark Spector being a dominant, but I mean, this abstract version of Mark Spector, say call it just MS. Mm-hmm. This MS has Mark Spector, Moon Knight.
Well, MS is also a term for multiple sclerosis.
Okay, fair enough. Okay, let's say Blobby So this blobby has, has within it Mark Spector, and whether or not Mark Spector comes out is there from the get-go, that's only just one component of the whole. So from the beginning, we just see that one component. And it's been labelled because it was there first, but that doesn't necessarily mean the ones that don't come out later weren't there. They were all there. I guess I think that's how I see it. Lena, if I'm wrong, please pull me up.
Definitely pull us up.
Yes, please. Please.
On the next page, Mark exhibits this misunderstanding of DID by saying, "But all of you are just part of me, and if I'm ever going to be whole again, you need to go." Moon Knight responds with what I think most alters would say when confronted with this logic, which is, go where? I can definitely empathize with this confusion. What Mark is trying to say is that he needs to be merged with him, integrated back into one whole identity. However, as stated by my previous article, for this podcast, merging isn't necessarily the only path to healing for someone with DID, and it doesn't work for everyone. It certainly didn't work for us.
Yeah. So again, maybe a highlight there from Lena about, and from Lemire potentially not, well, maybe that's what Lemire was, I don't know whether that was his intent or not, but that's not really the way to deal with it. You can't just tell an identity, an alter to go, because that's like, if I was like telling you, Chad, like, Chad, you got to go, but I'm part of Chad. No, you got to go. So yeah, it's all about integration, and yeah, I'm starting to see that now as well. Which then, which really does put the Lemire run in a different light with a sense of representation of DID, because I'm thinking of that very last issue, Chad. Remember that, where he kind of crushes Khonshu and maybe I'm getting that wrong, but no, actually, maybe that is more integrating his personality. It's been a while since I've read the Lemire run, but he doesn't get rid of the others. Like he literally integrates them, doesn't he?
I think that for the most part, destroying Khonshu in that mind state, to a degree, that's more of a unification of the other personas, the other alters, than anything. Sure, there's accepting them, sure, there's giving them space, but Khonshu was the one manipulating all of them.
Yeah. And in that instance, it's very different because Khonshu is not part of the system. So we've got someone with DID, and on top of that, there's another foreign identity kind of in that reality, in that mindscape. So, that's fair enough. Anyway, Lena continues and says, before we met our current therapist, who specializes in trauma and dissociation, we spent 9 years with 5 different therapists, including a psychologist and a psychiatrist, who all misdiagnosed us. They refused to admit that we had DID, despite the fact that we had multiple conversations with them as 4 different identities: Doug, Lena, Lilith, and Heidi. They claimed that Lilith, Heidi, and myself were delusions that Doug created due to stressful events. Let me tell you, it really sucks to have someone call you a delusion to your face. My God, that would be terrible. They told us that we had to merge with Doug so that he could live a normal life as one whole person again. Wow, okay. Over the course of those 9 years, we tried every method our therapist could think of, and some that I thought of on my own to try to merge us, and nothing worked. Sometimes it would appear to work, but eventually we would realize that we were still separate, and it was back to the old drawing board. It was like trying to combine 2 different colors of Play-Doh. You can squish the yellow and red Play-Doh together into one ball, but no matter how hard you press on it, it won't become one ball of orange Play-Doh. That's how it was for us. Doug would appear to be one merged self, but as soon as he started to notice the differences between the parts of himself that were always Doug and the parts that used to be Lena, Lilith, or Heidi, he would realize that those parts are still separate, and we would be back to being our separate selves. Yeah. So this is, again, Chad, going on those two lines, chains of thought of merging these identities into the one, like of getting these fragments and bringing them back to like piecing together, a puzzle again that has like fallen on the floor and spilled, and these the 9 psychiatrists and therapists and psychologists seem to be misdiagnosing it and doing it. But from what Lena has said and what we have learnt from the previous article, it's all about how to coexist with it, rather than to try and bring Doug to the normal. I don't know, any questions there for Lena, Chad?
Not so much questions, but just, it seems like the more all these misdiagnoses have gone through and the more trauma that has been heaped up onto the system with all these like kind of weird associations, it seems like it just makes the puzzle fit less and less. So,
well, I wonder again, and this is a question to Lena as well, because I think she alluded to it as well. I wonder if it has worked for others. Like, I mean, it spells out clearly in these articles that that's an antiquated way to go. It's not a fit for everyone. But I wonder if it had actually been achieved, or whether it is, as Lena had written, this one identity, it's with the Play-Doh. They're just kind of fooling themselves and trying to have it as merged, but they're not really merged. But yeah, I wonder. So Lena, please. I wonder if there are instances. I mean, I understand that it's an old-fashioned way to do it, and probably the wrong way to go about it. But it just seems from your writing that potentially there were some success cases. So yeah. So I've forgotten, where are we, Chad? Is it my go or your go?
It was my go.
Okay.
It felt like you had something else to say. Okay. I'm certainly not trying to say, however, that merging never works. Here we go.
Okay.
Or can't work. There are lots of DID systems who claim that some or all of their alters have merged, and I don't want to invalidate their experiences. I'm only trying to say that it didn't ever work for us. When we finally met our current therapist, who diagnosed us with DID and told us that we could learn to live together without merging, it was a huge relief. We then started to find out that there were a lot more than just 4 of us. Sorry, I kept skipping lines. When it didn't matter, because this new therapist was teaching us the tools we needed to live together in harmony, and those tools still work no matter how many of us there are.
Well, okay, so a bit of egg on my face there. Lena's pretty much answered that question. And again, I just want to reiterate, Lena, so I'm assuming Chad as well. I'm coming into this article fresh. I know that you sent it to me a while ago, but I wanted to get like the sincere reactions to the article as we are doing the show. So I like to leave it, and we kind of, Chad and I, just work through it. So apologies that my 5-minute spiel was answered in your next paragraph. But in any case, yeah, I guess as well, Chad, whatever really works, you know what I mean? As Lena said, it may work for others to try and merge, but if it was a huge relief to see if you can coexist and if you can function in society and not be harmful to yourself or I don't say like trouble for others, but if you can exist in society, like however way you manage it, then that's a good thing. I mean, that's, we all don't have to be the same. I mean, that's the idea. So we all kind of, but as long as as long as we're kind and good to each other, that's all that matters, really, isn't it? We can function properly. But yeah. So thank you, Lena, for that last one. So anyway, Lena continues, but anyway, enough about us for now. Back to Moon Knight. Over the course of the next several pages, Mark tries to merge the others in various ways. First, Space Knight Mark, being the newest and least fully formed, simply fades away. I've met other systems who have alters who are fragments, who don't seem like fully formed identities. Since we don't have any of those, I'm not sure if those types of alters would be easier to merge or not. However, I do know that when we have encountered alters in our system who were newly formed, in some cases just days before, they still seemed just as separate as any of the others, and would therefore not be any easier to try to merge if we were still trying to do that. So that's interesting. Chad, I guess as that again dispels this interpretation of Lemire that Space Knight Mark can't just fade away because he's like the newest or maybe least formed. I guess it just doesn't work that way.
I'm going to guess that has a lot to do with different variables involving why that drama decided to take that route. I mean,
okay.
Not exactly cut and dry on how you can just say an event takes its place of importance in your mind. It's like, it's your stimuli, it's, your emotional trauma that goes with it. It's just, there's a lot that goes into memory.
Yeah, no, for sure. Oh, I mean, yeah, the mind is such a complex thing. So, but yeah, I mean, it is interesting as well. And I guess Lane is just showcasing, how this representation in comics is done for better or worse. But with definitely that instance with Space Knight Mark seems to be, like an interesting point, I guess, the way that he kind of disappears in that sense.
Okay. The next go is Moon Knight, which is, interestingly, Mark refers to as Jake Lockley, aka Moon Knight. Most of the other writers who have portrayed Moon Knight and Jake are two separate alters, but here Lemire seems to be saying that they're the same. I'm not sure if that means that they were two alters that have merged, or Moon Knight was always just Jake's superhero alias. But either way, Mark sees Jake/Moon Knight as the most violent of them all. He tries to reason with Jake, but he just responds with anger and violence. So Mark reluctantly returns to the violence, killing Jake, quote unquote, with a crescent dart. That is probably the worst possible way to try and merge alters. Yeah. It's not possible to kill alters while the physical body is still alive. So it's likely that trying to merge with other alters by violent means will only make them more angry and or more untrusting and afraid. Even if it seems to work, it will probably lead to guilty feelings and resentment if that alter ever separates again, which, like I said, happened to us eventually after every time we thought we were merged. But in this story, it seems to have worked, with the dead, quote-unquote, Moon Knight fading away to nothingness, like Space Knight Mark before him. Mark then turns to Stephen Grant, only to find that Stephen has run away. Can you blame him?
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things I remember, and it's still available on our website, itkmoonknight.com, is a link to, is it Beauty After Bruises? It's a non-profit organisation that Lena pointed me towards. And it goes about in the same way that Lena is in our journey on ITK is trying to dispel a lot of myths. And one of the big no-nos was do not try to kill one of your alters, And so I guess we see that laid to bear here with Lemire, Lemire's run of Mark, just killing Jake Lockley. It just, even just it just seems like a very risky thing to do, because you're playing with a human mind and you are potentially stuffing up the equilibrium that is the mind by killing like one part of your mind. It just, yeah. But yeah, we definitely get that here.
Generally, just don't kill people. Good idea.
Actually, Chad's taken it one step further. Absolutely. Yeah, whether in the physical world or the mindscape, just don't kill anyone. Which is very, it was such a aggressive move by Moon Knight here to just take him out. But again, I think this is the whole thing of trying to merge or trying to have one sort of dominant identity be there at the end, the last man standing. But yeah, I can definitely see how that absolutely works against what you'd want to do with someone with DID. So, Lena continues, the final merging of Mark and Stephen is by far the most tender and emotional scene of this story. Stephen asks Mark if he is not real. How can he remember specific details of his childhood? Mark responds that Stephen has been with him since childhood and that those memories are real. I feel for Stephen in this scene because Mark's explanations are filled with misunderstandings about the nature of DID, the same misunderstandings that hurt me back when we were misdiagnosed. This scene reminded me so much of some of the conversations that Doug and I had back when we were trying to find a way to merge the two of us together. The last lines of dialogue between Mark and Stephen felt like Lemire had a tape recorder in our head all those years ago. And then there's a snippet here of what that kind of, how that played out. So Lena says, just promise me you'll find a way to be happy. And Doug responds, I will. I'll do everything I can, and you'll always be with me. Goodbye, Lena. Lena says, goodbye, Doug. I'm pretty sure Doug didn't go to a mental hospital to try to kill Khonshu after that, but I know that he did, like Mark, feel very alone. Yeah, I mean, it's obviously a very personal connection that Lena has found in that bit of writing with Lemire. And that was a really good scene between Mark and Stephen as well. I think they embraced as well at the end, towards the end of that. But yeah.
Well, that brings us to the end of the issue. So it's time for ratings. I'm going to give each single issue that I write about 2 ratings. One for my opinion of the issue as a comic book story, purely based on the quality of the art and writing, and one for my opinion based on the portrayal of DID and or mental health issues in general. Then I will average out the two for my overall ratings. As a comic book story, I thought that this issue was very good. The art, both in the line work and the colors, was very dynamic. Yeah. The dialogue was very interesting and emotional and really got to the core of the characters. For the first rating, I'll give it a waxing gibbous. A big fat one. A 9 out of 10.
Yeah, fantastic. Sorry, Chad, I want to also backtrack a bit as well because there was a point that Lena mentioned. It's quite interesting. Like Jake as Moon Knight. Yeah, I mean, no, that's so different because like in the Mensch run as well, there was never real like Moon Knight was to be honest, I mean, that was all a little bit played out a little bit different in the 80s. But I think I find it interesting that Jake and Moon Knight are now associated together, and we see that also later on in the Bemis run. And it goes as far back as Shadowland as well, and I can't remember, but definitely Shadowland, where Jake Lockley is the violent one, and Bemis picks up on that as well. Lemire does that as well. It's just interesting that identity-wise, Jake Lockley is Moon Knight. It's weird. It's strange. Within a DID system, and I guess that's where Lena was going towards. It's almost as if are they meant to have merged or something? Because we know historically Moon Knight and Jake Lockley have been very different. They've been independent characters, so to speak. But yeah, I just found that interesting.
It's starting to kind of feel like between the different alters and Mark, it's not so much like just saying it's black or white. You're kind of borrowing from different colors each time you're getting a fragmented alter. So it's like you get Mark Spector, a little bit of Jake Lockley. You have Moon Knight. You get a little bit of Stephen Grant and Mark. All of a sudden, you're making Mr. Knight.
I get what you mean, and that's actually a very good point because, they bleed and overlap with each other, right? You know, these identities aren't like set in stone, I guess. I mean, there are bits of them that do overlap. So, the violent side, the violent tendencies, Jake Lockley and Moon Knight, I guess they kind of intertwine. And maybe that's kind of what Lemire, through Mark, was kind of insinuating, that, you know, you guys are together, so to speak. But I don't know how that works within a DID system. So, So again, Lena, interesting concept as well. But I guess that's another question. What of that of common traits or potentially overlapping personalities or behaviors between alters and systems? Like, how does that work? Because as Chad said, I'd imagine it's not clear cut. It's not black and white. You don't have A, B, C, because you're all part of the same thing, right? You're all part of the one. So you're all taking from that pizza is all taking from the same dough, you know? So, anyway. Anyway, 9 out of 10. I would have given that issue a pretty high rating as well.
I can't think of anyone that hasn't.
Yeah, exactly.
It's damn good material.
It is very good. It's very good. And I'm hoping to do my reread of the Lemire run again in its entirety. Just because it's 14 issues. It's easy to go through, but there's so much packed into it. To cap off Lena's article, so to finish, she'd given 9 out of 10 on the comics side of things. As a depiction of DID, I liked it a little bit less, but I didn't hate it by any means. As I talked about in this article, there were several things that didn't ring true to me. But, as I also said, these are common misconceptions and ones that we are ourselves believed back when we were misdiagnosed. It wasn't nearly as negative and stigmatizing as a lot of other fictional stories about DID. In fact, it very much seemed like Lemire was trying very hard to get it right and to show an empathetic portrayal of someone with DID. And like I said, the last scene between Mark and Stephen was so spot on to our own experiences of trying to merge that it hurt to read it. So it loses a few points for not being totally factually accurate or up to date with the current understanding of DID, but it gains a lot of points for being sensitive and emotionally accurate. I'll give it a 3/4 moon, 7.5 out of 10, for the DID portrayal side of it. This gives us an overall average of a waxing gibbous, but a little bit thinner one, at 8.25 out of 10. Still a pretty damn good score. That wraps it up for this issue. The next one I'll be writing about will be the very next issue in this run, issue 10, Birth and Death, part 1. May Khonshu watch over the denizens of the night. Lena, thank you very much, Lena. That, again, a thoroughly enjoyable article to go through. Chad, I enjoyed it. I look forward to learning more from Lena as we go along and to see how that relates to the comics.
Definitely. I mean, as the comics have been progressing and, our diagnosis and understanding of DID has been maturing over the years. It's only getting better.
Yeah, exactly. It's almost a shame, like Jed MacKay, I mean, he said as well, he's taken a different route, and he's, I guess, not delving too much into the DID. It's more about that, what's it called? He termed it in issue 1, where it's more about that God affecting the mind, that deity, and what it does to Mark.
Yeah.
I think that's a very good angle. It's a very cool angle, but I a little bit of me kind of feels for, it would be really cool to get Lena's thoughts on how Jed would portray it. But, hopefully if we get a longer run from Jed, maybe he'll turn to DID. I think he'll do pretty well. He's a very gifted writer. So there you go, Loonies. That is Understanding DID Part 2. Hope you enjoyed it. Any questions, please just post them up in our group. Address them towards Lena or Doug. And look forward to hearing from you. Let us know what you think of our chat about it as well. it's always interesting to hear what others thought, and what others have learnt as well. And it's great to have this resource in Lena, as well as we do have others. Jaybird, a bit of a shout out to Jaybird. They're within the system as well. They're part of the group, so very interesting. Anyway, Chad, let us take a quick short break. And when we come back, Loonies, we're going to wrap up the show, but not before just a bit of feedback from you all. So, see you soon.
I am Connor from the House of L.
And I am Ray from the House of Zod.
We are two of the many, many survivors of Krypton's destruction, and we have made our home in Australia, and dare I say have become Australians, for better or worse. But we have also decided to read Superman comics, read Superman books, watch Superman shows, cartoons, movies, basically everything Superman, and from an Australian perspective as well. Whether you're a seasoned fan, like me,
Or whether you are coming in fresh, wide-eyed and wanting to learn more like me, then this podcast is for you. Join us for our bi-weekly adventures available on all good podcast catchers.
so just search for Last Sons of Krypton, a Superman podcast. We'll be coming to you from Australia or some cosmic dimension, wherever we are that week.
Up, and away.
Hi, this is Declan Shalvey, former artist of Moon Knight, and you're listening to Into the Night, the Moon Knight podcast.
Yes, welcome back, Looney listeners. You're listening to Into the Night, the Moon Knight podcast. This is episode 237, and what you just heard on the other side of the break was a breakdown of an article by Lena, one of our valued Loonies, who is part of a DID system, and it is our second part to understanding DID a bit more. So, just learn a bit more, understand your favourite character, Moon Knight, a bit more, and see how he's represented with DID in the comics. But, Chad, we do have a bit of feedback just for some previous episodes that I want to capture and just to shout out these Loonies. So why don't we just alternate between the two? I'm going to kick off with numero uno on our Facebook page in response to our previous episode where Justin and I discussed the Marvel Fanfare 38, Whatever Happened to Podunk Slam. A new-time listener, a young'un by the name of Chad Jernigan. Any relation, Chad? I don't know. Chad writes, I had never read this before. It wasn't what I'd expect from a Moon Knight story at all. No, I'm not fond of boy bands, but I sort of empathise with Podunk Slam. As well as they were stealing their vigour from their fans when opportunity presented itself and the morality was weighed, they gave it back with zero hesitation. That's true. I was kind of surprised with French's enthusiasm, but hey, different strokes for different folks. I'd give this a 4 out of 10. It was unique, but didn't seem to really pull its weight in any categories, though it was slightly amusing. So, Chad, wow, 4 out of 10. I would have thought maybe, give it a pass mark at least. But,
Hey, I'm honest, if anything.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough. Again, if anything, it was an odd tale. It's a strange one. I guess that's why we have Marvel Fanfare, or we had Marvel Fanfare.
Yeah. Okay, next up is Jordan Haggerty from the Facebook group. Fun story. Perfect little supernatural adventure for Moon Knight. I really liked the panel where the artifact is destroyed and the curse of Koala Mumba. Was it Koala?
Yeah, it was.
Jeez. Let's see. Was destroyed and the curse of Koala Mumba lifts. Also really enjoyed Mark looking over to Frenchie and he's bopping along like my brother to NSYNC. Also, Moon Knight getting mauled by young teenage girls was priceless.
That was awesome.
Yeah, that's The editorial for the beginning was worth a chuckle. As Moon Knight fan reading this in a Moon Knight Marvel fanfare, I was reminded of colorist Christy Shield and letter Janice Schlein, or yes, an I, so Xiao.
Yeah.
And their great work on Moon Knight. We often talk about the writer and the penciler, but man, Moon Knight had an entire team of amazing artists. And then for Doug
hang on.
Vincent.
Sorry, just a big thanks to Jordan as well. Awesome to always hear from you, Jordan, fellow Patruni. But yeah, great artists. I mean, we are lucky. Writers, I think, and artists as well. Like, you look at Declan Shalvey, Greg Smallwood, look at the colorists, Geordie Belair. Fantastic, you know. Yeah. Look, I'll take this on then. The next one.
Okay.
The next one is from Doug from the system. Again, this is for Marvel Fanfare 38. This has got to be one of the goofiest Moon Knight stories ever. I thought it was bad, but then I realized it had crossed over into so bad it's good territory. It felt like Scooby-Doo meets Moon Knight. The art was really good, but the skin-tight mask was a little weird and off-putting. That was a strange aspect. Overall, I'd give it a waning gibbous, about 6 out of 10. Yeah, I think that was kind of what I gave it, Doug. Couldn't agree with you more. If anything, it was a unique take on the mask. I thought it was good. And just going back to Jordan's comments, Moon Knight being mauled by girl fans, oh, man, you're not going to get that anywhere else. So I kind of love that.
Let's see. Next up is YouTube's responses, and first up is CMK7, beep boops and all that jazz. Great and hilarious show, guys. You had me laughing my butt off. I really enjoyed Mooney teaming up with the Secret Avengers. Probably my favorite, as brief as it was. That or maybe Heroes for Hire. Yeah. But it was painfully clear Mooney had no desire to act with a team, unless he was calling all the shots. Maybe. And with the song I mentioned, it is indeed very dry ice and very hair firmy. Check out the video. Lol. I certainly know it won't jive with most, but check out the synthesizer bridges at around 218. It gives me an almost mysterious Egyptian feel. They're probably just...
I'll have to take your word for it there, Chris. Thank you for that. But yeah, so that was for a comment for episode 235, where Nolan, Justin, and myself talked about Moon Knight and teams, like the teams that Moon Knight would be associated with. So yeah, Heroes for Hire we didn't mention. So that's a good call. And that song that Chris is referring to, Gino, I get this wrong, Gino Vanelli, I think, very kind of 80s. I listened to that on the way to the supermarket the other day. I just had to cackle. That was funny stuff. But I might have to look at the video now. So thank you, Chris. And finally, Chris has responded to our latest episode, not this one, of course, episode 236 on Boy Bands Are Evil, on, again, Marvel Fanfare 38. Great review, guys. Yet another weird Marvel Fanfare issue for Moon Knight. But as Justin pointed out, appropriately weird for a Moon Knight story. The comment that it's not Tolstoy had me rolling on the floor laughing. I remember at around this time Marvel was really pushing for this new Fist of Khonshu Moon Knight, with plentiful ad spots, swag, t-shirts, yes please, and appearances like in West Coast Avengers, and here in Marvel Fanfare. I guess it kind of stuck in that most fans still equate Mooney's powers with the phases of the moon. Yeah, and that's something that we discussed, Chad. It's so weird, because in my lurking online of other Moon Knight places and stuff, and I see comments from people who clearly aren't, haven't followed Moon Knight for a long time. One of the first impressions is that Moon Knight has, like, powers. He's got super strength, all to do with the phase of the moon. But as I mentioned in that episode, that was only during Fist of Khonshu and around the West Coast Avengers. Like, if you look at the whole scheme of things, it didn't last. It wasn't a lasting thing, but it seems to have longevity because people seem to associate it with it. Also, the fact that it's maybe a logical thing. Like, who's this moon guy? What the hell does he do? He's got to have something. Oh, it's got to maybe the moon.
Well, I mean, and he tends to have like these weird outbursts where he does crazy, absolutely bonkers things, like flattening an engine block on a Jeep during the Secret Avengers. It's like, he didn't even have any powers.
Yeah.
How do you do that?
Yeah. Oh, of course, we get later on the power of crazy from Bemis, so...
Let's not get started on
that
that.
might have to be shelved, I must say, for a bit. Yeah, I like a lot of Bemis's, don't get me wrong. I know people have other views of Bemis's run, but yeah. Anyway, Loonies, that pretty much wraps up the night lines, the feedback. Thank you so much. And as mentioned, I might try to put up a post or something about this Understanding DID Part 2. If you have any questions, or actually just drop them in the comments of when this episode drops, in the comment section. Be really cool to hear from you what you think, of your thoughts. But thank you. Please keep them coming. We love getting feedback. Thank you so much, one and all. That pretty much wraps us up. Before we go, Chad, of course, a huge thank you for coming on. Always fun to have you on. I know it's again, very strange hours of the morning for you, but that's situation normal, I guess, for Chad.
Status quo.
Status quo. Spectacle-wise, is there anything that you'd like to shout out?
I mean, if you're into retro anime, I kind of do a page, Captain Harlock in the Arcadia.
Mm-hmm.
Just do a lot of memes about Captain Harlock. Been going for a little bit over a year now.
Nice. Yeah. Cool. And Shadow Man, right? Come on, no?
Oh. Well, I'm kind of doing a little one for Shadow Man. You know, the valiant Shadow Man, not the acclaimed Shadow Man.
Yes. All right. Well, yeah. I mean, again, information will be in the show notes. For that, go check it out as well as you can see. You can see Chad in and around the community as well. I'm sure Chad can answer your questions on, I don't know, on. I'm just trying to think of something random on coffee, but you probably won't get that reference because that would have been edited out of this episode. Anyway, next phase, Loonies, episode 238. Chad, now would you be able to join us for a little bit of a chin wag?
Of course.
Excellent. Glad to have you on board. Chad will be... Actually, this is more honest. I know I play this charade with Noel and he always gives me crap for it, but literally we aren't recording back to back. So it's not like I'm asking Chad if he'll join us and 5 minutes later he will. We are going to space this out a week apart. So as I said, we've got to wait until the new issue drops on Wednesday. So episode 238 will be a new comic book review, and Chad and Rebecca, fingers crossed, will be able to join us, and we're going to go through the latest issue by Jed MacKay, Alessandro Cappuccio, and Rochelle Rosenberg. Should be a fantastic one. We've been loving issues 1 and 2 so far. Issue 3, Hunter's Moon on the front cover. Gimme, gimme, gimme. That's all I can say. So that should be fun. It should be fun to have you over there, Chad, as well. Well, I mean, look, this is an idle chat. I usually just give a very short, sharp farewell and a thank you. I'm not going to go through an outro because I've got a pre-recorded thing for that. But once again, Chad, looking forward to it. Thanks so much. Any other final thoughts you want to bestow upon the Loonies before we get depart?
I'm just going to remind, let's see, a certain Looney that we have a bet going, but we had to drop out on certain fronts. But I'm still saying, Hunter's Moon. It's a lycanthropic moon priest.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah, we got the bet. Bets are on. I'm going to say Noel's a bookie. Hit Noel up for for odds. Why not? But Loonies, thank you so much, and we'll catch you most likely in the weekend for our new comic book review. So enjoy the comic on Wednesday, and we'll hear from you soon. Catch you later. please consider checking out our Into the Night Patreon page on patreon.com/ITK There are plenty of incentives there, like uncut material, bonus episodes, and more, and any contribution will help expand the show. We're sponsored by Fringe Night by Daniel Doing, and you can support his Patreon page at patreon.com/fringenight27. Also, Tombz by Drew Tombz can be supported via his SoundCloud website on soundcloud.com/Tombz with a Z. Drew Tombz also produces horror and sci-fi based music on LURKMUSIC. That's LURKMUSIC with a CK. And you can support his music on Bandcamp at lurkmusic.bandcamp.com. We're also sponsored by Dreamland Comics, the superhero superstore. Use the code MOON to get a promo of 20% off any online back issues. Finally, we're part of The Collective, which is an informal network of like-minded podcasters. It's a repository of ideas, and we also like crossing over and supporting each other. Please check out all of these shows in our show notes under The Collective. Moon Knight and affiliated characters, stories and events are properties of Marvel Characters Incorporated. Material used and discussed within the podcast are intended for critique and review purposes only under the fair dealing concept of the current Copyright Act. The views, information, or opinions expressed during the podcast are solely those of the individuals involved and do not necessarily represent those of the copyright owners.